Picture noon on the African savanna. 90 degrees and climbing. Every smart predator has already quit. Lions lie in whatever shade they can find. Hyenas stay underground. Antelope stand frozen, saving water. Nothing moves at noon, except one thing. A single figure, upright and sweating, jogs across open ground, tracking hoof prints that get fresher by the mile. No claws, no fangs, no burst of speed that could catch anything. Yet hours from now, it will be the only creature still standing. Here's the strange part. We're some of the worst sprinters in the animal kingdom, and some of the best endurance runners on the planet. So what forged that contradiction? To find out, go back roughly 2 to 3 million years. East Africa then was nothing like the wet, green cliché of the cradle of humanity. The land was drying out, not gently, and not once. It cycled through violent, repeating extremes, long droughts, then sudden bursts of rain. Over and over for hundreds of thousands of years, forests shrank, grassland spread. Forests that once supplied fruit and shade thinned into scattered patches, forcing animals to travel farther for less. Every animal on that unstable edge faced one choice: adapt fast or disappear. This isn't a story about a lucky mutation, it's a story about a crisis severe enough to rewire an entire body plan. Start with the climate. Sediment cores from Kenya's Turkana Basin reveal something remarkable. Layers of dust and pollen swing wildly between forest and bone-dry grassland, sometimes within one lifetime. Geologist Peter Domenical mapped this long-drying trend across nearly 3 million years. Later, paleoanthropologist Rick Potts found something stranger. Africa didn't just get drier, it got less predictable. Humid stretches would collapse into drought almost overnight, then reverse again. Potts called this idea the variability selection hypothesis. Researchers still debate exactly how much it explains, but nearly everyone agrees. Surviving this era meant surviving constant, extreme unpredictability, especially the droughts, when water and food vanished together. And drought made everything worse in a second way. As water sources shrank, prey and predator both funneled toward the same shrinking water holes. Our ancestors weren't just short on food. They were suddenly competing with lions, leopards, and hyenas, animals with claws, fangs, and speed no hominin had. A weaponless two-legged primate should have lost that fight outright. For a long time, the fossil record suggests most of them did. But one window stayed open, midday at the peak of the dry season, when open ground can pass 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Lions retreat to shade and go still. Hyenas den up. Even antelope stop moving to save water. For a few hours daily, the fiercest competition simply vanishes. If you can survive being outside in it, it's less a hunting ground than an empty stage, reserved for whatever could tolerate the heat. That's the gap our ancestors backed into. And the body built to exploit it is strange. Humans carry millions of sweat glands. That's roughly 10 times the density found in chimpanzees, and it's spread across skin that lost most of its hair. Some estimates put daily sweat output near 12 liters. That's an enormous amount of cooling, spread invisibly across the whole body hour after hour. Sweating alone wasn't enough, though. Most four-legged animals cool down differently, by panting. And panting has a hidden limit. In a horse or an antelope, breathing locks to the rhythm of running, about 1 breath per stride. At a full gallop, that animal can't pant faster. Its lungs are already maxed out. The only fix is slowing down or stopping. Humans don't share that limit. Our breathing isn't locked to our stride at all. We can gasp, pant, or breathe deep at any pace. Combine that with millions of sweat glands, and you get something almost no other land mammal has. The ability to keep shedding heat while running, at the exact moment every four-legged rival is forced to stop. The fossil record backs this up. Around 1.9 million years ago, a new hominin appears with a strikingly different body. Longer legs, a narrower waist, an elastic ligament up the back of the skull, stabilizing a bobbing head, and an enlarged gluteus maximus, a muscle nearly useless for walking, but essential for running. That neck ligament is a telling detail on its own. Outside humans, it shows up almost nowhere else, except in horses, another animal built for sustained running. Apes don't have one at all. In 2004, researchers Dennis Bramble and Daniel Lieberman cataloged more than 24 traits like these. Most, they found, serve no purpose for walking. They only make sense for running, and running far. One especially complete skeleton from this period, found near Kenya's Nariokatame region, shows a body already strikingly modern below the neck. This is Homo erectus, the same species that shows up right alongside the fossil evidence of Africa's worst drought cycles. You don't have to imagine this hypothesis. You can watch it. Starting in the 1990s, anthropologist Louis Liebenberg filmed sand hunters doing exactly this in Botswana's Kalahari Desert. The footage was later narrated by naturalist David Attenborough. In the hottest hours of the day, past 100 degrees, a hunter picks up the trail of a kudu, an antelope that could easily outsprint him. Instead of racing it, he just keeps moving, trotting, tracking, never resting in shade the way the kudu instinctively does. Within an hour or two, the animal collapses from heat exhaustion, still alive, but finished. The hunter, still sweating, still moving, walks up to something that never had a real chance. Speed was never the actual contest. One detail closes the loop completely. These hunts work best in the dry season. Sun-baked, loose sand drains a fleeing animal's stamina fast. The harshest, driest stretches of the year are exactly the ones that once threatened to starve our ancestors. Now they turn out to be the exact conditions this method needs. By the time Liebenberg began filming, only a handful of sand hunters still practiced it at all, a tradition nearly replaced by bows, dogs, and rifles. And the chase itself required more than endurance. Tracking an animal for 2 hours across open country means predicting where it went after it vanished from sight. Liebenberg spent decades studying how sand trackers read faint signs: a disturbed pebble, a bent blade of grass. Together, these let him guess an animal's path before seeing it again. He called it a form of hypothesis testing. Guess, check the evidence, revise, keep moving. Some researchers argue this may be one of the oldest forms of structured reasoning our species ever practiced. Put it together, and the picture flips. Drought wasn't just an obstacle our ancestors survived, it carved out the one advantage nothing else on the savanna wanted: staying active in heat that grounded every real competitor. 3 separate systems, cooling, breathing, and bone structure, all lined up around the same problem. Sweat instead of fur. Breath uncoupled from stride. A body built to fail slowly in conditions built to make everything else fail fast. Millions of years of brutal, unpredictable drought didn't just fail to wipe us out. It built the machine capable of surviving it. That machine never got the memo the crisis ended. People now run marathons through desert heat. They line up for 100-mile races across places like Death Valley in July, on purpose. None of it is necessary anymore. No one needs to outlast a kudu to eat dinner. Yet the drive never faded. It makes perfect sense once you remember whose lungs, skin, and skeleton were shaped by this. A few million years of doing exactly that, out of necessity, in a landscape that was actively trying to kill it. So next time you see someone push through a run in heat that would stop a dog cold, look again. You're not just watching willpower, you're watching the output of one of the harshest droughts our species ever survived. That crisis was so severe, it left us built to run through the exact conditions that once tried to end us. Somewhere along the way, we started doing it for fun.